This plug that I am holding has the capability of generating a lot of power. However, in my current location, it isn't generating any power because there's no source to plug it into. The last few days we've been looking at Paul's life before he was plugged into Christ, which consisted of working really hard to establish his own worth. And we've contrasted it with the life rather that is plugged into Christ, which consisted of resting in the worth he has independent of his own merits. The key phrase that Paul keeps talking about is that he wants to know Christ. And so today we will focus on one aspect of Christ that Paul desires to know, and that is the power of his resurrection. So I'm going to read Philippians 3, verse 10. And it simply says this: I want to know Christ. Yes, to know the power of his resurrection and participation in his sufferings, becoming like him in his death. Back on Monday, I started off by asking you that if you jumped into this creek behind me, would it be easy for you to swim? And the answer depended on whether you're swimming with the current or against the current. One of my favorite things to do in the summer as a kid, and it still is to go to water parks. Most water parks have something equivalent to something called a lazy river, right? It's a big circle of water flowing rather powerfully in one direction. So without really doing a thing, you can float without really much effort. Doesn't it sound nice right now? Not only the water amidst this heat, but being carried by a power or a current that we don't have to generate on our own. See, many of us are depleted of power, not because we are poor swimmers, but because we are swimming the wrong way. You see, that's what happened to Paul. See, he talks about he lost all things, but now he considers all of his past accomplishments nothing compared to knowing Christ. You see, he's now ready, after losing those things, to experience the power of Christ's resurrection. In order for this to happen, he had to see Christ as far more valuable than the things he used to look for as the source of his validation. So when this happens for us, this now means our lives shift from swimming against the current to with it. And therefore, even though we are moving fast, we are expending so much less energy than before. We are no longer in bondage to the things we are striving for because they no longer form the basis of our righteousness or our validation. Rather, they flow from the result of our righteousness, and they become a means of gratitude and response. Right? No, hear these words that Paul says in Colossians 1:29. He says, I strenuously labor with all of Christ's power that works in me. You see, Paul had a constant energy and power flowing through him. So it didn't mean that he stopped working hard. He still worked hard. It's just the motive of his heart and the reason he was doing it completely changed. Instead of it establishing it as a form of the basis of his worth, now he labored with Christ's power as a result of gratitude for the worth that Christ gave him freely.